Hey y'all, I am in my canning pantry and I want to share with you some recipes using my ugly chicken. They call it ugly chicken because it kind of sticks to the side of the glass, but I think it's beautiful. I think it is one of the most delicious things you can make in your canner. And it's really easy to do. Just cut up your chicken and use some salt and pressure can it. It's that easy and it's so good in all kinds of recipes. You can make soups, stews, chilies, you can make tacos, quesadillas. It's just very versatile. And I can have dinner on the table in 5 minutes. If I just heat up this can of chicken with some minute rice and some peas, I can have a dinner in 5 to 10 minutes. So if you like quick meals, you are gonna love canned chicken recipes, and I've got some for you. And these are some of the ones that we made this past week or two, and they are so delicious and so easy to make. So I'm gonna turn you around and get started and show you these recipes we made this week with my ugly chicken.
All right, this is the first way I like to use my chicken. I'm going to make a chicken Alfredo, and it's going to come together really quick and easy. And I'm going to add my jar of chicken, some Parmesan cheese, and some pasta. I'm using some penne pasta, and I'm going to make my own Alfredo sauce because it's so much better. I don't like any of the ones in the jar. And I'm just going to make a roux. I'm using butter and flour, and I'm just going to stir that around and get that combined. And then I always add in some garlic powder because I don't use a whole lot of fresh garlic, and this is just a lot easier, but you can use fresh garlic if you want. And I'm going to stir that around and let that flour cook out of the sauce. You could also use cream cheese in there. And I'm going to start on my pasta, and I'm going to add some canned milk to the roux. I'm making a mess there. I know I always make a mess, but I like to use canned milk. You could also use heavy cream, or you can use regular milk. And I will have a couple recipes down below that you can make really easy. So I'm going to go ahead and stir it and see how thick it is. And it's a little bit thick for me, so I'm going to add in some pasta water. That will also season it up because you've got that salty pasta water, and it will make it a little bit more runny the way I like it. I don't like it real thick, so I'm going to add in just a little bit of that pasta water and see how I like it, and I think that is good. So now I'm going to add in some chicken. You'll add in the chicken, and that'll thicken it up some, and you'll also be adding in some Parmesan cheese, and that will thicken it up as well. And you can leave the chicken out and just make an Alfredo sauce like that, and it's so good. But I'm adding lots of Parmesan cheese because that's what I like in mine, and I like lots of pepper in mine too, but you can season up any way you'd like. If you wanted to add some Italian seasoning in there, you could do that too. But I think this is just perfect, just like it is. And now I'll add in the pasta, and it's pretty much done. I think by the time you boil the pasta for like 12 minutes, you can have everything else done, and you can have dinner on the table in less than 30 minutes. And this was so good. And now I'm going to give you one of the easiest things you can make with a can of chicken. And this is all in one casserole dish. This is a chicken pot pie, one dish. You mix it up in the casserole dish and you bake it in there. So you can't get any easier than that. So I've got a can of cream of chicken soup. You could use any kind of cream of soup. And I'm going to add a little bit of the broth from the chicken into there. And the chicken comes with its own broth, so I mean, you can't beat that. You get 2 for 1, broth and chicken, when you use canned chicken. So I'm just going to mix that up until it gets a little bit thin. I don't want it too thick. So now I'm going to add in my shredded chicken that I shredded up in the jar. It's really easy. Just take your fork. I've got some salt and pepper in there, and I put onion powder and garlic powder in there as well. And then just stir that up. Then I'll add in the vegetables, the peas and the carrots, and stir that up. You don't even have to add vegetables if you like. I don't do that a whole lot. But now you're just going to put on your crust. And my crust today is going to be biscuits. I just take the biscuits and I cut them up into small pieces. And you could even flatten them out and make a crust. And you could do that on the bottom and the top. But I'm just making a top crust. That way I could mix it up in the pan. So I'm just melting some butter and rubbing that on the biscuits and put it in the oven just until the biscuits get done and it's nice and bubbly, and you got dinner in just a few minutes on the table and in one pan. So I don't know how it could get any easier than that. I mean, it's all made in one pot, and you could put it in the oven and it's done, and it's bubbly and warm, and especially around here it's freezing, so this is kind of like a warm hug to give yourself. So I highly recommend this. This is so easy and so delicious and comes together quick, and it is a 10 out of 10. And now I'm going to give you a easy crock pot recipe. I do not recommend you put this on before you go to work and leave for 6 hours, but it's good like if you come in from work and you've got a couple hours, got something to do, and you want to have dinner on the table in about 2 or 3 hours. So I will show you how to make this. This was a TikTok recipe, and I will have the recipe linked down below in the description box. But most everything I had on hand, and I had that tortellini in the freezer I needed to use up. So this is going to be perfect for your canned chicken. You just dumping everything in here, and it's a dump and go recipe, and it's so easy. And I even got to use some spinach that I had in the fridge that wasn't black and slimy, and I had to put in the compost. So it's a win for me. So I'm going to take that bag of tortellini and dump that in the crock pot. And this, you don't want to overcook it, so that's why I would say you don't want to leave this all day in the crock pot, because that pasta will overcook really quickly. So now I'm going to add in some of that spinach, and I'm adding the whole bag because that will cook down and it won't make a whole lot. I'm going to add in my jar of chicken. I'm going to add in a can of diced tomatoes, some cream cheese. Make sure that's melted because it doesn't melt really good in this dish. So make sure you microwave it a little bit before you put it in there. And I'm putting in some onion powder and garlic powder, of course. But I'm also putting in some parsley flakes, oregano. It was just everything that you would put in an Italian seasoning, but I didn't have any, so I'm just using what I think would go in Italian seasoning. But like I said, I'll have the recipe link down below where you can go by and see the recipe and do it that way. And I'm adding in some cheese. I used Monterey Jack, but you could use pepper jack, Colby Jack, any kind of cheese you like. And I'm putting in some Parmesan cheese. And then finally I'm adding in some salt and pepper. And you don't want to stir it around. It said to just put the lid on there, and I cooked it for about 2 hours on high, and it was perfect. The pasta was cooked perfectly. Everything was good except for the cream cheese. Like I said, I would probably melt it a little bit more before I put it in there, but I stirred that together, and this was delicious, y'all. Not something that I would cook all day, but the pasta was just al dente and just perfect. So I paired that with a salad, and I am totally embarrassed to say that I have never made a quesadilla with some canned chicken, but I don't know what I was missing until I just tried it the other day, and it was so good. Just take a can of your chicken and some taco seasoning. So that's all I did, was just put it in a bowl and shredded it up with my fork, and then put some of that taco seasoning in there. I did add in some onion powder and garlic powder just because I have to in every recipe. Then just stir that around, and that's pretty much it. I just put some oil down in my pan and got my tortilla down, and I toasted mine pretty good. I like a little bit more crunchy taco, or not a taco, but a quesadilla. So I'm just going to spoon the chicken in there, and then I'm going to top it with some shredded cheese. And the grandkids love these. My littlest one even just loved this, and he ate a whole one by himself, and he's not even 2 years old. And I just flipped it. It was really easy to flip, especially when you have that cheese in there. It kind of just forms a glue. And that's it, and just toast it on the other side, and you can't have a quicker or easier lunch or dinner. And I just topped mine with some salsa and some sour cream, and that was delicious, y'all. This is another easy recipe for some canned chicken, and this is like a stacked enchilada, and you're just going to need some cheese, some enchilada sauce, some cream of chicken soup, a can of corn, some green chilies, and I've also got a jar of salsa, some of my home canned salsa. So I'm just going to shred up that chicken. I'm going to leave some of the broth in there, just mash that with a fork, get that all combined. And I'm adding in some cheese, any kind of cheese, cheddar, Colby Jack, Monterey Jack. And I'm adding in some enchilada sauce and some Mexican corn that I canned. And I'm putting this in the crock pot, but you could absolutely do this in the oven in a casserole dish. And just combine that, and I combined a can of cream of chicken soup. I bet cream of mushroom would be good in here too. And my favorite, a can of green chilies. Can't go wrong with a can of green chilies for sure. And mix that up really well. And then I'm going to add in some taco seasoning. I'm not measuring, I'm measuring with my heart, but I will try and find you a similar recipe. But I'm just going with it like I always do. But now you're going to stir that up, and we will put it in the crock pot. And I'm going to put a layer of it at the bottom. And you want to make sure that this is on a low temperature, because mine kind of burnt on the bottom, or not burnt, but just they were kind of more crispy than I would like. So I would make sure that you put this on low, especially if you're gonna put this on for work. I would put that on low temperature. So I'm just gonna add in one little bit to cover. And you could also add in some beans, some black beans, some pinto beans in here. I think that would be good as well. And then you're just going to layer the tortillas over that, and then you'll just keep stacking. You'll make a layer of the tortillas, then you'll make another layer of the sauce and cheese, and just keep going till you have all of your tortillas gone or all of your sauces gone, whichever comes first. And you will add the final layer, you'll just add sauce and cheese on the top. So make sure you have enough sauce to put right here on the top, and then put your cheese down, and then that's it. And you'll just either put that in the crock pot for a couple of hours on low, or you would put it in your casserole dish and bake it until the cheese is lightly browned and it's nice and bubbly. I've did this both ways, and it turns out good for both methods. And for some reason I didn't have a shot of us eating it, but it looks beautiful here, and it was delicious. So make sure you make that. I will have the recipe link down below in the description box. So make sure you make this, because it was delicious. And I just want to give you kind of some ideas of how to use it, but this one is an easy way to do it and get your Mexican fix. And this one is a really easy chicken chili that I'm going to make in the crock pot. You can do this on the stove, and it would take you about 30 minutes and it would be done. But I'm just adding in a jar of chicken, and I did add in, I think, some broth. I cannot remember because I did this a couple weeks ago. But just add in your chicken, and you'll just dump and go. I just use stuff that I already have in my cabinets, of course, because I'm doing the pantry challenge, so I'm just gonna use whatever I have on hand so I don't have to go to the grocery store. But I'm using my canned chicken too that I have on my shelf that comes in a pinch if I don't have anything to make. I will make one of these dishes, and it'll take 20 minutes if I'm not doing it in the crock pot. And it's a perfect thing for just using whatever you have. Like, I'm on the January Pantry Challenge, the Three Rivers Homestead Challenge, so I'm trying to use up what I have, and I'm using the Rotel. And if you just had like some diced tomatoes, whole tomatoes, you could use stewed tomatoes, you could use regular tomatoes and add green chilies. And I'm adding in some Mexican corn that I had canned this summer, so I'm going to add that to it. You could add beans to it, just whatever you like. If you like peppers and onions, you could cook up some of that and put it in there. It's just whatever you like. As long as you have the canned chicken, it's pretty much versatile to do whatever your family likes. I like corn in my chili, so I'm going to add in just a little bit more. And I would add in peppers and onions, but since I have that Mexican corn in there, I don't need the peppers and the onions. So now I'm going to go ahead and add some spices. I added some cumin. I'm adding in some chili powder, because you got to have chili powder with chili. You could also add in a packet of chili seasoning if you've got that. And I also like to add in some taco seasoning. Just taste it and see how much it needs. If it doesn't need any, then you don't need to add any, but I like to put some in mine. And I'll stir that in. I'm also adding in some cream cheese. I wish I would have softened it a little bit more, but I usually put mine in the microwave, but I didn't this time. But that cream cheese will thicken it up a little bit too. It cooked for a little bit. My daughter doesn't like beans, so I cooked it for a little bit, and then I put her some in a container, and then I put some beans in there. I found some chili beans in my pantry, so I thought that would be good in this. It's really got some good flavor in it. It's already flavored, and it's got all those nice chili flavors, so I'm going to add that to the crock pot. All right, now it's done, and I've got a baked potato that I'm going to pour this over. And if you have never done this, you are missing out, especially in the pressure cooker. These potatoes are so good. So I'm going to add some of my chili over the top. You could put the chili over some tortilla chips. That's good too. Make a taco salad with it, just whichever one you like. You can make this into a taco soup if you just added in a jar of broth. But this was so good, y'all. This is one of the top things that we love to have, especially, like I said, when it's cold. It's so cold this winter, so I want something warm and yummy, and this is delicious. You got to make this one. So I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Stay warm out there, and I'll see y'all in the next video.